So I want to know what were the key cultural or the political factors that enabled such a flourishing flow of knowledge among
Okay.
Muslims? And also a second part of that question is why their scientific contributions are not recognized in the modern era.
Okay. Before I answer that question, I just say that thousands of scholars worked on every subject of science, philosophy, mathematics. And according to one European historian, if there would have been a Nobel Prize between 7th and 15th, every Nobel Prize would have gone to Muslims in every subject because there was no competition. Christians were just abandoned completely. I cannot give you their contribution for thought, but just to give you a glimpse of that, Al-Khwarizmi. Unfortunately, many Muslims don't know them. This is a sad part. That's what I have written books on that we will discuss later.
We have to know our history.
Yeah. Khwarizmi developed the concept of algebra, algorithm, and that concept become the foundation for computers today. Do you know Ibn Haytham was the first Muslim scientist who gave a correct understanding how we see things. Before Ibn Haytham, Greek thought that the rays come from eyes to the object and perceive. Ibn Haytham said, no, the rays come object to the eye. That's the reason, just like Newton said, gravity, because something fell down. He said, in the dark, you cannot see because the rays cannot come.
Right.
Very simple, but then he experimented and proved to them it comes to the eye, then it goes to the brain. That's the first scientist who gave that knowledge. Many Muslims, unfortunately, don't know. Let me tell you, Ibn al-Zahrawi was the first surgeon who invented many instruments. His book is in the Library of Congress, and you can see the drawings of all the new instruments he invented for surgery, thousands of them, and wrote the book on surgery. It became a specialty after Al-Zahrawi. Now, Ibn Sina is the great scientist. Many people know them by name, but year 1000, by that time, I think he has written about 200 books on medicine and philosophy. His more famous book is Canon of Medicine, Canon. And he is the first one who put in one book the disease, causes, pathology, treatment. No book was produced in such an organized fashion. People have written for hundreds of years, Greek and philosophers and all that.
Right.
But they have scattered. Some say about treatment, some of the, but he combined. Can you imagine? He wrote 30 volumes of medicine, the book on medicine, and that book become in the universities in Europe for 500 years. That was the only textbook of medicine. Now, that's the kind of a work we did. But unfortunately, Muslims abandoned themselves the great work these scholars did. Some books were destroyed, some were in the libraries under the dust. Now I will answer your question why that happened. Because that's a right question. By the way, I'm doing this work in year 2000, so I have 25 years experience on that. I did intense research and studies. Many books and articles say, oh, Mongols attacked Baghdad, they destroyed big institutes, and that's what. But there were universities in Uzbekistan, in Cordoba, in Egypt. They didn't attack everywhere. If they attack Harvard, the science will not disappear because Cambridge is still there, Stanford is still there. I said, why is then they say colonialism? I said colonialism is in 18th, 17th, 18th century.
That came later.
So I found it started in 11th century, not 100 years before Mongols attack. The theologians were concerned that if people start studying philosophy and science, their faith in Allah or Islam become weak. So that was the main thing.
And is it the same reasons that the Christians thought and that led to the dark era of Europe? And now the Muslims did the same thing. And now we are going through the dark era of Muslim ages.
You're correct. Al-Ghazali is a great theologian. I have a lot of respect for him. I studied his books. He's the one who gave the fundamental understanding about the faith, Muslim character, Muslim personality, a great scholar. But he said that natural phenomena automatically not happen. It has to have God's permission. He gave an example. He said, if there is a fire, there is a cotton. The fire will go to the cotton, it will not burn until God permit, give the permission. That created a big problem because then people don't know what they can do or understand because everything that God has, and that created and that become the basis of Asharite philosophy. His main reason was he was trying to explain to the students everything philosophers saying don't believe it. I understand that. I think we should look at everything critically. That's what we call it, critical thinking.
Critical thinking, exactly.
But he make it point. But the real problem, which I will tell you, is not him. It's Nizamul Mulk. Nizamul Mulk is a brilliant administrator and Wazir of Suljuk Empire. By that time, Abbasi Khalifas, who are very supportive, become weak. Suljuk take it over. Nizamul said, if you let people study philosophy and science, they will oppose democracy and you will lose Khilafat. So they become frightened. So they stop funding universities. And Nizamul Mulk changed the curriculum in all the universities from science and philosophy to Islamic studies, administrative issues, some mathematics. And that become major problem. And because of loss of funding, people did not have chance to educate. Between 11th, 14th century, gradually it declined. By 14th century, there was, listen carefully, there was not a single university in the entire Muslim world teaching science.
So within 400 years, almost like all these accomplishments were gone almost.
Completely gone. Not your grandfather, but my grandfather, because you are much younger than I am, your great grandfather did not know what physics means. My grandfather did not know what this is not. And just think about it. What the university is about teaching in Arabic, Persian, Fiqh, Hadith, and Islamiyat, Islamic studies. In India, just go back and look at that in about 15, 16, 17 such, not a single university teaching it. Some Hindus were doing some math and some not Muslims. So from 14th century, not a single university, entire Muslim world was teaching science, philosophy, or any of the modern subjects. So that was happened. Who reintroduced? It was the colonials who come back in 18th century. They said they're not studying anything. So they introduced. When Sir Syed tried to introduce English and the science, he was regarded as infidel. They said he is kafir.
Yeah. So what I'm understanding, and if I try to summarize, I think there are many reasons for the decline, and I would say the loss of the treasures that we built over a period of 800 years. And it could be political, that the rulers of the time thought that they would lose control of the general population if they get more educated in science. There are some scholars also who contributed, fearing that there could be a decline in the level of faith if we go more towards the science.
Exactly.
And partly, maybe there is a small role that's played by the invasions of the Mongols. Maybe a very smaller role. And definitely, I think what this, how they say is like, if anything goes in peak, there's a time for it to come down. So probably it was destined for Muslims after such an accomplishment to come down. Again, this period might be taken in a very positive context, that there are many lessons to be learned. And now it's time that Muslims kind of try to rebuild and rethink their approach towards the world, not compromising on faith, but also excelling in the worldly affairs.
You don't have to compromise on the faith.
Exactly, exactly.